Alright guys, so I've been back from Florida for about a week now. The Integra got its fair share for the week. Now the S2000 needs some work. And this is going to be one of the cheaper, performance handling mods per se. I don't know if that's the right category that you can do for the S2000. And I'm going to get to the shop, we'll get this thing up on the lift, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Got a Supra here right now, so we got to move this out of the way first. And the other ass. This thing is very, very cool. It's actually quite high mileage for what you'd expect. This thing, I moved it yesterday. It's got almost 150,000 miles. To be honest, this is only my second time ever being in a Supra. And the first time was yesterday when I moved it, but look at that. 147,000. This is a driver's car with a dead starter. Starter. There we go. Okay, golden. Gotta love that cockpit style freaking cabin. Alright, so we got some goodies here in my water and snacks. Okay, I apologize for the fan noise in the background. It's summer in Arizona, dude. It's hot. Gotta have that thing flowing some air, and I apologize also for me sounding kind of bleh. I've had a cold all week, so just getting over that. But let's get started on this thing. So let me show you what we got really quick in the box, and we'll explain about, why it's a cool little piece. This lower box, this is just a bunch of sway bar end links because all of mine are pretty well trashed. I haven't changed them since I bought the car 2 years ago. So you can see, pretty tired looking, all 4 of them. But these upper ones here, this upper box, has 2 sets of goodies. So this is the one that we're after today. This is the one that we're after next time. We need to go for an alignment because, if I can get this out of the box, this is going to be your Spoon Sports subframe, rigid collars. I've been chasing issues with subframes and stuff, so it turns out mine's shifted, but I'm not going to deal with the alignments right now, so we're doing this later. This is what we're here for today, though, because this is the important piece. This right here, these 2 pieces of metal, these are your front anti-bump steer kit slash, steering rack spacer slash whatever else, these things go by. Now, you'll notice that they're red because I got some EVS tuning. If you don't know who they are Evasive, which is the S2000, kind of specialty shop out in Southern California. So this is the Evasive, if we can get some light in here. Focus! There we go. Had to, I don't know, camera's being weird. But yeah, these are the Evasive Motorsports rear bump steer kit. So this thing I put on because I had damaged tabs up here. One of them got a little tweaked on the front side where I can't really correct it that well. So I was losing my toe adjustment. So I got this so that way I could, have all the adjustment. Plus, I do track the car, so it is a nice little upgrade. But the biggest difference I noticed, because what it did is it changed the mounting position and spaced it out down here. So you can see there is a spacer on there, so this piece right here spaces it down, which gives this, when it's on the ground, a much more level, resting position, which I noticed it immediately, that this thing was much more solid in the rear over bumps. It didn't seem to, sidestep or, bounce around or jitter as much. So I'm really excited to get these front ones on because essentially they should be doing the same thing, especially now that I have the rears done. I feel the front bouncing around just quite a bit more noticeable since the rear is actually now settled. So I also forgot that when I was in Florida, I picked up the LHT Performance strut bar friendly master cylinder brace because I wanted to go say hi to those guys, meet them in person since I've been talking to them on Instagram for a bit now. And we also got, VTEC solenoid caps. So we're going to slap all this on really quick. None of it should be extra difficult. Obviously the sway bar end links are just a couple of nuts. The steering spacer, that might be a little bit more tedious because it's kind of limited on space, but it's these 2 bolts right here. You can see, just got to get them from the top side. So you just got to work around the subframe a little bit. Basically, we're just going to be undoing those bolts. We're going to be slightly lifting this up, sliding those new ones in, and they are slotted on the bottom. They do have a machined, dowel, kind of. You can almost see that in there. Open this up. You can see there. So it kind of self-positions. So that's going to be pretty easy. So let's get started. So I already sprayed these things with WD-40 because they were a little crusty looking, but it looks like they're coming off somewhat easy. So long. There we go. Easy. You didn't have to take the wheel off.
The benefits of having like a lift.
True. Yeah, these things are pretty clapped. So, out with the old. So the front and the rears are specific, just because the rears are much bigger than the front, and the front's also got the offset like that, so pretty easily distinguishable. Yeah. Next up. Thankfully, there's no tension on nothing, so this should slide right in. Got the Zerk fittings on here, so I don't even own a grease gun, honestly.
I don't either. The only time I've seen a grease gun is when I worked at a hotel, and it looked like they hadn't touched it since like 1990. It was so dusty.
I've never had to use one. Everything I buy is usually either spherical or, you know, pre-greased and enclosed. Okay, grease fittings are good. Goodness. Bonita. So I don't know if you guys already know this, but here's a little trick with getting these things out. If you guys are having a hard time getting the nut and the Allen key in here, if it's spinning, for example, like this, and using a ratcheting wrench, because in this case, the hole is right here where it goes through, way up there, and there's not a lot of room to turn a wrench. So what you can do instead is if you go and get yourself, you know, the Allen keys on the hex bit or whatever, you can use that and just run it opposite. So hold the nut and then set the gun or the ratchet to tighten, and then when you tighten it with this in the Allen key and holding with a wrench, then it just spins it out like normal. It's way more efficient in my opinion. Onto the steering rack spacer. So they are 14mm bolts. You know, they're kind of tucked up in here. I don't know how well the camera is going to see it, but you got the one on the front here, and we're just going to break that guy loose, just like that. So that one's broken loose. The back side, I do have the Cusco brace, so it's a little tighter of a fit for me. A lot tighter of a fit. Might have to grab a different ratchet, but you get the idea. Second one is on the back side, right there. There we go. So, get these knocked out. Probably could go up higher, but you know. You do reuse your washers. They send you new bolts that are longer to compensate, so just reuse those. And we should be able to, I'll probably have to loosen these ones up, but, oh yeah, so you can see we can just lift the rack just like that. So there is bushings that you can get in here to replace. I didn't grab mine. Probably should have, but otherwise, let's see, I believe these just go straight up like that. So I got the one spacer in, you can see right there. Now the only issue that I'm having is I learned something after I just did this one in off camera. So basically what we got to do here is we got the hardware, but the new hardware is longer, so that limits us on the space. So you can see this bolt right now can drop right into position, but when we add the spacer, we're not going to have room out there. We're going to be hitting the frame right here. So what we have to do is basically drop the bolt in just like that, and then you have to lift the rack, and then you have to slide the spacer under it. So it's going to be a little tricky. I'm just going to tripod you guys up really quick, but now I got to lift the rack, take this spacer out, put the front bolt through, because again, I will show you this one is not going in. So that's where we get setup. So that's kind of where we're stuck. So I'm gonna, again, pull the spacer and then insert the bolt, lift the rack up now that both sides are undone, and then slide the spacer underneath. Now they are machine fit, so they do fit with the logo facing upward, so the, you know, the indentions face down. I just kind of had to hang on it a little bit, give it a little tap. So let's get this lifted and let's put it in. So
I think you said you had to put the front bolts in first and then lift it.
yeah, well, I gotta get that spacer out first, actually. Screwdriver.
Oh. You know, the way that sounded when it popped in place, you'd think it'd have been a lot more stuck.
Okay, drop it. Alright, so steering rack spacers are good to go. Found out I was not paying attention. Just lower the car down. If you're on jack stands, just go up top. If you have the stock air box, take it out of the way. You can get these back two steering rack bolts super easy that way. Like I said, it took both of us to, you know, lift the rack, especially on this driver's side. It was just a lot more tight. I think it was probably just because the steering linkage, I didn't disconnect it. But I used a pry bar. I was able to get the rack just up enough to slide the spacer in and then thread the bolts in. So now we're moving on to LHT strut bar friendly master cylinder brace. So you do have these ABS lines right here. You just gotta bend them slightly like that because you're just fitting the head of the bolt through there. So that's all you're doing. And it just kind of bends right around there and you'll be touching there. But they do send you these two washers. So he explained it to me since I was there in person. These are to space it out because if you look on the shock tower here, it's got the recession in there. So these are just to make it more level. So you drop those down first. You get this in between the brake lines. I already have mine adjusted, so you'll have to, you know, thread the rod in a little bit. And now we're good to go there. You can lock your nut down. I'm gonna extend this one out just a little bit because you want it to be pretty much touching the master cylinder, because the point of it is to make it so your master cylinder doesn't move or flex at all, because when you press the brake pedal, you know, even with the power assist, your firewall flexes. That's what this prevents. So now we got that. I can take my shock tower plate, drop this back into position here. Mine's pretty mangled, so don't mind it. And then we can thread our nuts back on. And that's pretty much it. I also wanted to mention, please excuse the dirty engine bay. I recently got this vented hood and I haven't touched the car in like 3-4 weeks because I've been out of town and stuff, and I didn't realize just how much dust it was gonna let into the hood. But you know, we're done now. You know, master cylinder brace, we got the sway bar end links, and we got the you know, the steering rack spacer. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna take the car around the block really quick and we're gonna see, you know, because my neighborhood around here around the shop is a little bumpy, nothing crazy, but we're gonna see if I notice any immediate, you know, jumps or clinks, and then we'll be able to end this video out. And also, I didn't put the master or the VTEC solenoid cap on just because they recommend you put a little bit of Honda Bond on the cap and let it cure overnight. And you know, I got to drive this home, so I'll just do that when I get home. You guys don't really need to see that. It literally just goes right there. Gosh, yeah, this thing needs an engine bay detail. Just disgusting. Alright, so I'm driving the car right now, and actually, it did change the alignment a little bit. My steering wheel was dead center, now it's off to the left a little bit. Not too sure why. I wasn't under the impression that it would change that, but maybe it's because it changed the angle of the rack. I don't really know. Maybe I'm crazy, but I do know that driving around the neighborhood right now, the car does feel pretty darn planted, honestly. Like before, I could feel, you know, elevation or, you know, road changes through the steering wheel quite a bit, like as creaky, clunky bumps. Maybe that was also my sway bar end links, but I do know that it is gone now. And going through corners and stuff here, I'm going decently quick. The front end just feels all around a little bit more solid. You know, it just doesn't feel so, you know, bouncy, I guess, loosey goosey. I don't know what the term would be, but you know, I think it definitely made a difference. So I would say this is definitely, between the front and the rear kit, you know, if you're gonna do one, you should do both, especially now that I can say that from experience. But it definitely feels like one of the more affordable performance handling, I don't want to say upgrades, but differences you can make. You know, once you lower the car, because I'm on springs and shocks right now, I think it's worth it for sure. Absolutely. And so I was just showing Efren that I put the master cylinder brace in because he wants to get one, and I didn't pay attention, but it actually does do something, so watch. So it may be kind of hard to see on camera, I don't know, maybe I'm just looking at the screen weird, but you can visually watch it kind of pull out and push up a little bit. And so with this stopping it, like, so you guys can see that that brace is actually doing quite a good job, because I almost want to fire his carb and watch how much his moves, but it definitely feels much more rigid. So also LSG, good job on this kit. And if you guys want one that's probably maybe even a little bit more rigid that, you know, looks great, they have the billet version for the non strut bar friendly versions, but you know, I have the strut bar, so it is what it is. But yeah, no, that piece and the bump steer kit, awesome. So I'm done with this video. We've had some fun. We got some new parts in the car, and I'm hot, so I'm gonna go home. So if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you're new to the channel, hopefully by now you want to subscribe. And if you guys didn't see the Instagram announcement, I have officially changed my name. I am no longer going by SD Fab or Sadowski Fabrication. We are now Velocity Racing Fabrication. So hopefully you guys, yeah, hopefully you guys are, you know, in support of it. We got some hopefully cooler stuff coming in the future. You know, patience is key, and that's something I'm learning quickly. But hopefully with this new name change and new business change and direction, you guys will be, you know, excited about it. We got a new project car / shop car. We got just changes all around. Good times, hopefully. Anyways, guys, do what you love. Forget about the rest. Merch is in a big cartel, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace out.